Hello, welcome to The Connection. Tonight we're going to be discussing dating in your 20s versus your 30s. We're going to talk about all the differences and priorities that might occur and how you should capitalize your dating experience right now. Welcome to The Connection, and I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to The Connection, Beyond the Secret. So I'm glad to have you here today. Decided to do a little secret interview. What's your code name for this? What do you want to be called?
Oh my God, you have to ask me this before.
I know, right? I should have, but this is going to be completely raw, so
Call me however you want to.
Oh my God. Well, then I'm going to call you Cookie.
Okay.
All right, Cookie. So this is The Connection. I want to really take a different approach this year as I am doing these podcasts and doing interviews. My goal really is to form connections between men and women. I think when we look at the current dating market and just relationships in the West, we see like there is just a lot of issues, I think, on both sides, men and women. I think throughout the last year in 2022, we've seen tons of podcasts come out. There's different personalities such as Andrew Tate and just like a host of issues with like abortion and things like that has even like kind of furthered the divide between men and women. At The Connection, we really want to focus on trying to bring men and women together, but I think that happens with conversations and addressing issues and coming up with solutions to the issues. So
You're right.
I tend to be. Just kidding. But, so tell us a little bit about yourself as far as where you're originally from.
I'm originally from Germany, actually.
Okay.
I grew up here, but not in the western part of Germany. I grew up in the east part of Germany. So it was more like a different experience than those who grew
From
up.
the West, yeah.
From the West.
If any of you guys have any information or I guess history kind of reference about like the Berlin Wall, there is just like different cultures. I think it's really important to obviously gain insight from different cultures. I myself am from America, so obviously when we think about relationships, dating and things like that, it's a little bit different. But I think it's actually really good to get insight because I feel like a lot of Western countries, even though you're from East Germany, like there's just been a lot of changes, and I think it's very similar across the world. Education level.
Education level, I have a master's degree.
So you're quite educated. Yeah.
I am. I hope so.
And then just tell us, I guess, any information you feel like would be pertinent to the viewers to know about yourself.
Well, I'm in my mid-30s. I think this is an important
Okay. Yeah.
thing to know. And I'm currently single.
Okay.
But I did have long relationships in my lifetime. I just never was married. I don't have children yet, which doesn't mean I don't want to have children, but I was waiting for the right partner to come, which is, kind of hard to,
I mean, yeah, so it's like, we can jump right into it, right? So it's like looking at some of these issues. As a woman, what are some of the biggest issues you think you face? And we'll just start off with one and we'll kind of go from there. But what is like the biggest issue you think you face in finding a long-term partner?
Well, I think the whole dating scene changed a lot during the past few years, and a lot of things changed in terms of, like we had it just before, morals.
Yeah.
I'm missing a lot of morals, but the basic morals, like.
So morality. So
morality.
You want to start with morality, okay?
I'm just saying. The whole dating market changed a lot because of the dating apps, of course.
Mm.
And I think it is a lot easier to get to know people. It is a very fast dating scene, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to know many people at the same time, and you also get replaced really fast. That's how I feel.
So the carousel of just people in and out all the time. So let's start with morals, and then we'll go into a little bit like social media, and then some of the experiences you can kind of tell me about if you want to. What is like some of the big moral issues you think you've seen from men that have I guess demonstrated to you that a lack thereof maybe of morals?
Well, I think there's just no empathy anymore. For someone they are dating, you know. So, like talking about being honest, being honest with your intentions, being honest what you want, because most men out there, they basically just want to have sex, and they
To an extent, yeah, I agree with
covering that by faking a relationship or even faking emotions or anything like that, which is not necessary actually, because there are many women out there as well who just want to have sex. So I think it is not that hard to find like someone who has the same interests.
Why do you think men might lie about wanting sex? I mean, like, I know we talk about this. Like, I mean, of course, there's probably a dozen podcasts that say men are, but like, why do you think men, in your experience and what you've experienced, why men might lie in order to have sex or attain sex or things like that?
If I would know that, I assume that it's just because they want to have a specific person or want to have sex with a specific person, and then it just, you know, maybe faking a scenario around it to have or to get there, to get to their goal of having sex with this specific person. Or sometimes it is also like they are actually in a relationship and they actually already have a relationship, and they just search for an affair, you know. And I mean, I had it like 2 times already that I was actually dating a man, and I was not the one who wanted to date them. They wanted to date me. And then later I found out that they already had a relationship going on, and it was never their intention to date me. And this is something which I totally don't understand, you know, because actually it made everything worse for them as well, because as soon as it came out, you know, their life
Blew up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there was a lot there. I think you kind of mentioned how a lot of men just are not honest with their intentions upright. I think you mentioned how, you know, some men will also have relationships but still try to pursue a woman anyways, and then lead you on into this fantasy that's not even ever really, I guess, at least not the whole picture. Maybe it's not true. I don't know in that situation, but it's just not the whole picture, and they're not being honest about everything that's going on in their lives. As we kind of talk about men and morality, I think I don't want to make excuses for men. I think I'm not going to make an excuse for men. I will say this as a man. I think, yes, sex is a big part of, you know, men like sex. Like, we know this. We see it with OnlyFans.
We do like sex as well.
I think men like sex a little bit more.
I might disagree.
How
but
much
okay.
do you think? Okay, here's the truth. Do you think who's going to pay for sex more likely, to be a man or a woman?
Well, I think you have to add the fact that we don't really have to pay for sex.
Exactly.
But yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it doesn't mean that we don't like sex or that
No,
we
I'm
like
not saying you
sex
don't.
less.
I'm just saying, I mean, I guess from a biological standpoint, men, you know, produce like 4 times as much testosterone. So,
I mean, I agree that some women might not like sex as much as some other women do. But I think the main reason is because maybe they never really experienced good sex. If you ever have experienced good sex, then you will love it too.
yeah, I agree with that to that extent. Like, but I think I will offer maybe a snapshot. I think a lot of men aren't getting what they want out of relationships, so the only utility they see for relationships is sex. So I think when we talk about asymmetrical attraction and things like that, so like men want certain things from women and women want certain things from men. There's certain things that are like attraction signals that, you know, women are like, oh my gosh, he's tall or something like that, or he's buff. What, depending on your like preference, but we'll say height. Height is like a very general one. Like, we know most women prefer to have taller men, I would say. No one's like going out to being like, I want to go get me with a midget. I'm not saying like midgets can't get done.
But why do you think, where does this come from? Because I
Height?
think this is actually an evolutionary instinct
It is,
as well.
100%.
Because we
100%.
prefer strong males as well.
Yes.
And we consider, you know, tall men being stronger.
Yes, and protectors. Yes,
Yeah.
100%. No, I
And
agree with you.
protectors,
Like, I think women do prefer men who are taller because it sends a signal that this man can protect me. Also, it's a gene signal. So like, my children will also have this gene. So I think that's one aspect. I think we can say most women probably, to some degree, want a man that can provide. Not saying he has to be a billionaire, millionaire, but that's also an attraction signal. And we're talking about general populace, not just you, but I would say most women look for an extent some man who can at least take care of himself and probably a family.
Of course.
Fair? Yeah, fair, right? Like, I think that's also built into our evolutionary biology. I think another thing, too, is I would say that probably the one that's not talked about a lot is parental investment. I think women also look for a man who can be a good father. I think that's something that has, I don't want to say.
I'm not really sure.
You're not sure?
Because
Ooh.
I think a lot of women choose their baby fathers really not wisely. Let's say not wisely, because I've seen so many women who had children with men who are actually not good fathers at all. It
Okay.
depends on what the intention is.
I would say age probably plays a lot of a factor. in
Of
that.
course.
I think older women do look for men who may be like better parental figures and things like that.
Even though I have to say that age does not always make wiser.
Yeah, that's
I've
also
also
true.
seen women who were like over 40 years old and still acted like a child when
Yeah.
it came to dating and relationship stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about why men might lie, and then we'll go back to morality. But I think that men might lie, in my sense, is men like certain things in women. I think just like I just named like 3 things that, I think women want in men, right? We think 3 things men want in women other than sex. And you can't use sex because, just like you said, women want sex just as much as men. So what do you think 3 things off the top of your head?
That men like about women or certain women?
Just
Or-
like in general, like probably things that men look for in women.
It depends what their intentions are. You
Let's
know,
say
like
serious relationships.
serious relationship. Okay. Well, I think, of course, it is still a thing that men are looking for a woman who can, like, do the household, like the old, role models.
You think
Household, cooking,
traditional, you're saying?
traditional.
So let's break down traditional, what that might mean.
If you want to call it that way, yeah.
I would say traditional is I think it's a pretty well-known term at this point in like society. It's like we've outlined there are traditional men and there are traditional women, and then there's modern men and modern women.
That's true.
Yeah, so I feel like,
It's not always the case that a man is looking for that in a woman. And sometimes it's even the man who stays at home and works, and
Yeah,
the
that'd be
woman
more
works
modern,
or whatever.
yeah.
Yes, that's the modern part. But I think, I don't know. I mean, I think it's
well, you don't know what men want?
loyalty, maybe. I am not a man, so I don't know what you're looking for. But
Well-
I think it's mainly loyalty. They are less likely to want to share a woman with anyone or any other partner.
Men are territorial. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that 100%. Oh, 100%.
Not always, but
For the,
the
most
majority
part.
is.
Yeah. I would say that, so I think this is why I would say I want to bridge the gap. I think when I talk to some women, sometimes they have like a kind of an inkling of what men want, but it's like, I think past sex, a lot of times women don't know what men want. I would say like for one thing, I think supportive is a big one. Like those mothering, nurturing kind of qualities, that's like a big one. I would say, at least from my perspective, that I look for. I would say, I know this word, everyone hates it, submissive.
Oh my god. I don't know about that actually, because
everyone hates that word, which is fine, right? Like I think,
But you know what? I think if a woman likes you a lot, and I think as a woman, I can say that I'm always looking for a man who is slightly, or who I can look up to.
yeah,
So you automatically submit, like, or be submissive to him. And so I think I think that comes naturally.
and when I say submissive, I kind of actually want to take this time to talk about submissive. I think, so I grew up in a Christian household. I think a lot of people do not understand what submission means. I think when you have a man that you trust, it's that you trust to lead, and it's like a man, at least in the way I look at it from like a Christian man, but not everyone's a Christian, but let's just say a good man. Just say a good man. I think a good man will take into account his partner's desires and add those into the factors and then make a decision that will get them to that point. I think a lot of times in our society, a lot of times women want to see the result very fast, but things take time to get to certain places. So I think for me, when I think of submissive, I don't mean like, go make me a sandwich, like don't talk to me. I think it means, one, it's like you have to trust like my judgment and allow me to like lead. I think a lot of times though, what people don't see happen is like when someone's leading, sometimes they don't see the things they want. And I think as long as you're communicating with your partner consistently, and this is where I say like this is a difference between submission. Like if you're communicating with your partner about your wants and needs and saying, hey, like this is going on with me, hey, this is like I can't handle this, or like, I need you to help me. Like, we need to change something. Like, that's where the communication piece comes in. And I'm just talking about generalities. For me, I think communication's big, but I would say I'll get back to like general men. So I think, one thing we said is like supportive. I think another big one is going to be submissive. And I like to change this one out, but I'm gonna be honest, because it's general men, sexy, right? Like, we know we want a girl that we want to like, that is attractive, that we want to show off to our friends, that we want to sleep with. Like,
But what if she not always will be attractive?
No, she's not. No one's always gonna be attractive. That's 100%.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, that's why you just get a new one. I'm just kidding.